really get deep into the processes now. And so we're going to get into the organizational processes that help and provide support to projects. We're going to get into uh, the program management stuff, which they call technical management. That again supports or helps control the project, and of course the technical management things, which we'll cover in the next few days, are things. But remember, this is all done as very high um, best practices. Um, and just like Sam said, they're different domains have different life cycle models they like to deploy, and you may be combining some of these, but all the actions and what needs to be done should be done, but it's not going to tell you how to do it. So it's very high level. It's like, hey, you should do analysis, and here's a few analytical techniques you can use. But we're not going to explain what those techniques are. You look them up. So you'll notice this is very high level in terms of the way to do it. And it's very like, wouldn't it be great if every system engineering project worked this and did this? So you may find yourself frustrated by, oh, my company doesn't do that, or I
So
wish we did that. So just
is the test at a high level or
yeah, no, it's from the handbook, whatever
okay,
the
okay.
handbook says, and it won't go any deeper. And of course, one nice thing about the handbook is just like you said, Sam, if you want to know more, uh, the SE box there, and the SE box usually has some really good references. And INCOSE puts out some pretty good documentation and papers that deal with some of these projects. The ones that they're worried about requirements, we're going to get into requirements like tomorrow. Um, but they actually have some really good how to write good requirement type literature, and also measurement. They're big into measurement, so you'll see a lot of literature on that. All right, now what we're going to do, um, let's is we have already taken care of the agreement processes up here. Now we're going to go ahead and go through organizational and through the technical management aspects. So if you look at, and just to remind you, every time, and I'm going to do this at the beginning of every class because I want you guys to get a good sense of where everything is when you look at my diagram. Technical processes in the middle, surrounded by technical management processes, because there's some agreement between two organizations, and one, the supplier organizations created a project in order to use the technical processes in order to create a system for that other organization vis-a-vis the agreements that they had. Okay, so this is where we're at. This is where we stopped, and at the beginning of each section here, I'll show you how far we've come in terms of the building of the chart. So, module three, we're going to go organizational project enabling processes and technical management processes. So, let's try to get through all these before lunch. Okay. Um, and by the way, I know when you look at the organizational project enabling processes, when you look back here, one more, back here, you'll see that there are a good six of them. But notice tailoring is part of life cycle model, and that tailoring influences not only the organization but the project as well. So when I go through these after life cycle model management, I'm going to talk about tailoring too. So that's kind of the reason we have tailoring right after life cycle model process. So all right, as you can see, we're slowly eating into this thing, and this is what we'll cover for this morning. Just to remind you, there's always the purpose. The purpose comes straight out of 15288, and then we have a nice little description. And then the inputs and outputs both are within Appendix E, but I'm going to bring them forward so that we can talk about them. And then activities. Now I'm going to do input, activities, and output. And then they have common approaches And some of them have pretty elaborate elaborations that we'll cover as well. And just to remind you, the IPO inputs, will process activities, and then the outputs. Usually these inputs get transformed and become outputs. All right, let's do this. All right, organizational project enabling things, and that is all on the side. It includes the uh, life cycle model, which is being managed. And all these organizational project enabling processes are concerned with providing the resources needed to enable a project to meet the needs and expectations of the organizational stakeholders. So these processes are typically concerned with at the strategic level with the management and improvement of the organization's undertaking, with the provision and deployment of resources and assets, and with the management of risk in competitive and uncertain situations. So these processes establish the environment in which projects are conducted. So this section, of course, is going to focus on these 6 processes, and I'm going to add tailoring to this. And you'll find that these things can be evoked at almost any time, which is the reason I show them as a long line across the entire technical management aspects or the project and stuff. They can be used in whenever they do. So, as defined in 15288, these 6 processes plus tailoring provide the resources and organizational support to enable the projects that are the focus of the life cycle, the system life cycle. And of course, the organization tailors them, which we'll cover. All right, so that was a great explanation of that. I'm going to be jumping around in here. I'm not going to go in order. I wanted to go with portfolio management. I usually go with life cycle, but I'm going to go with portfolio because I think it's important for you to understand uh, kind of organizational structure. The it's the portfolio management is like an organization. If it's made up of a bunch of projects, how do you organize them? And so the organization has a portfolio management process that they would do that. And that's one of the reasons I made it a big brown ball over here, like I have project over here, is because to me that represents the organization. So a lot of times when I teach live and I have this big diagram behind me, I would point to the brown ball and say, well, the organization, so that's kind of the way I work it. But program again, this is to initiate portfolio management. What it's about is to initiate and sustain necessary, sufficient, and suitable projects to meet whatever strategic objectives are of the organization. So portfolio manages provides this organizational output in terms of a set of projects, the systems they create, and the technical investments that they put into place. So their external stakeholders, be it a parent organization or their investment or funding sources or their government bodies, they need to take that into account as they go forward. So, look, projects create projects and service to meet the objectives and generate revenue for the organization. Now, you may work for, there's always a reason for an organization to exist. And if you work for a contractor or something like that, you exist to make money for this organization, right? So you're part of that machine that at the end there'll be some profit and revenue for the organization. But you may also work for the government and your product and service is to serve the government, be it security or something else like defense or something. So there are other things other than money that you may be involved. But try to understand what your organization is trying to accomplish. You'll get a better sense of why these various processes exist and stuff. So successful projects require the funds and the resources to actually do the project. So, um, portfolio management is the one that commits that financial resources, and they have to be well defined and closely monitored. So the and also the authority to deploy these systems that are built have to meet various project objectives. So the project objectives have to be clearly defined, and portfolio management process will actually do this ongoing evaluation of the projects and the systems that are being created. And based on those assessments, they can justify either continual um, investment if they find that the projects do indeed contribute to the organizational strategy. It's progressing towards whatever achieving established goal that's there, and they're conducted according to whatever approved plan. They put a plan together and they approved it, and they're provide the service or product that's still needed, and it's going to give them a good investment return. Now, if they find that a project doesn't meet those things or don't meet um, some of them, they could redirect the project, and then they say, "Look, you're not following the plan. Let's rethink this," or the progress isn't going as well. Can we give you more money and resources? Will that help? So they could redirect it, or in extreme instances, just terminate the thing. It's just okay. This is not helping us, so we need to get rid of it. So, and actually, if you'll notice, and this is the IPO, one of the activities besides defining and authorizing and then evaluating, which we said they would do, terminating the project is the activity that the portfolio management process does. Now, input wise, you'll notice that, and by the way, I should have all of this here as well. So, input wise, we actually have some outside influences here: the strategic plan, the business plan, and the portfolio direction and constraints. Now, I'm going to pull this up every now and then just to prove that my diagram, which I developed like um, actually about a year ago, but I may find issues there. So, yep, it's over here. So, the business plan and the directions and constraints, and the organizational strategic plan is coming in as well. All right. So, and then the program plan should be giving you the SEP program planning should give you the SEP, which is the System Engineering Management Plan, and the project authorization request. So the project would be getting started, and as it does its planning, it needs authorization from portfolio management. The supply strategy approach. These are the approaches. Remember, actually, we set it back here. Remember, they're actually looking at the strategy and the various systems that are being built. And so you want to kind of look at their strategy approach in supplying, be it airplanes or trucks or whatever that you're making system wise that we're doing. Um, Also, the project assessment and control. This actually, if you look at this evaluate, how are you going to evaluate it? Well, project assessment and control actually gives you a status report or a dashboard, as well as the results of whatever decision gates or reviews that are in place. And then CM will give you variance or deviation or waiver requests. That will help you in terms of evaluation, but as well as in this redirection aspect that we're thinking at. So, um, three things you're doing: you're defining the and authorizing the projects by looking at the strategic plan, and then looking for opportunities that you can actually work. And once